And hello, everyone. I'm Dan Lutz, and I'm here with my co-host,
DANK.
and we're here on the front lines and the battle against the deep state, the Lumadonkeys, and all those that wish to enslave all humankind for their own selfish reasons. And we're looking at many front lines today. A lot of stuff going on. Impeachment is a vote is about to happen, maybe. Maybe, who knows? Anything can happen at this point. I think it probably is, but it's funny that you have Schumer in the Senate, making an out and out lie. It says in the Constitution that it's the responsibility of the Senate to bring forth impeachment, and it says no, it's the House of Representatives. And then Mitch McConnell comes and says, no, it's the responsibility of the House. They're the ones that are supposed to prepare the case and bring it. They don't have a case to prepare. Motion dismissed. That's
that's interesting. I didn't catch that part. I know that it's so hard for me to take Schumer seriously.
Hard to listen to him.
Time,
it is hard to listen to him.
Well, he's so arrogant and just. Every time I see him, I just think to myself, I feel like he's doing all this so he can spend his later years as the drag queen he was meant to be. Because he has no business being in the House doing anything else. But, the Senate doing anything, But, so as he's talking today, I'm watching, I'm thinking about, do they not see how much their hypocrisy is just so overwhelming?
It's crazy to listen to them and hear, and as though he knows he's lying. And like Mitch McConnell picked up on it right away and said, no, it's not. It says in the Constitution, it's the House. The House is saying it's the House's responsibility. If one thing everyone American that's watching knows, that it's the House's responsibility to bring forth impeachment, because that's what they've been saying. It says in the Constitution. It says in the Constitution. And of course, Chuck Schumer comes out, oh no, it's the Senate's responsibility to bring forth impeachment. No.
It's like, didn't he watch them all say this? Why? How could you make that big of a gaffe? You're a senator. Shouldn't you know the Constitution? You're part of making laws in this country, right?
Yeah, well, Mitch McConnell, he caught it right away, right? And he responded, and then he basically said, if the House can't put together an overwhelming case, that's their problem, right? They don't need further witnesses. And he said the idea of bringing forth, Chuck Schumer asking for more witnesses. Well, why didn't they call them in the House? Well, that's right. They didn't allow the Republicans to call their witnesses, or they didn't allow more witnesses to come in because they'd be cross-examined, right? But what the Democrats want to do is they want to stretch this out. They want it to go on for 6 months.
Right.
Right. They want to try everything they can to stretch it out into the new year. And they're going to want to shut it down before the vacation time is over. I think is what the Republicans want to do. Motion to dismiss, make it quick, and there's nothing here. There's no crime. It's high crimes and misdemeanor, and they're bringing two things that are not crimes. And then I also heard that the Democrats are going to try and tack on a third charge, like before the vote. It's like about to go out to vote. Well, let me just slip this last page in.
Yeah, well, that's the wiretap thing, right? Or
yeah. For
wire fraud. I'm not sure which one it is.
Yeah, wire fraud. So so just slip something in. It's such a farce. That's what Laura Ingraham, she used the word farce, right? And she said the word farce on her broadcast, And then there was an anon on the eight kun boards, right? The QAnon boards.
Who said, "Yeah, I'm about to go live.
I'm about to go live in 20 minutes. Yeah, I'm going to say farce." And she went on live in 21 minutes, and said farce.
That's great. I love that she's like, one of the anons. It's great. It's like, yeah, right.
So this is, I really don't know right now whether, there should be, full-length trial and then bring everyone up and do it on the Senate, with all of this stuff. I mean, Durham doesn't look like he's going to be ready until, June, right? So we're looking 6 more months for this to be dragged out by Durham and whatever is going on there. I don't know. Are they going to have 6 more months of trial and bringing this forth? Now Giuliani he's got the paper trail now for the kickbacks, right? For more of the politicians, right? And I think that it's going to hit.
He went on One American News, right? And showed them all the evidence. They were like, he definitely. You can see why he's never lost a case.
Yeah. So, but if they Dave Hodges, was bringing up that you got to get on all of the senators right now, and you got to start hitting their emails, and you got to tell them you better rule against impeachment, because we're going to come after you. Other words, because he's saying that so many of the senators, Republican senators, are caught up in Burisma.
Oh, really?
Right. So they might want to get rid of Trump, so they don't go down.
That would be the wrong move on their part.
Right. I would agree. I think they're gonna have to fall on their sword, and basically get out of Dodge, and they're going to have to suffer the consequences for receiving this money. Now we already know Romney's on there, right? But who else?
Sure, yeah.
Who else is talking out against Trump other than Romney in the Senate? I don't know.
I don't know either. The Senate doesn't seem to be. The Senate is really more powerful in many ways, right? And there's a lot less senators. There's a lot stronger force there.
Well, yesterday, they got through 15 more judges.
Wow.
Right.
That's good.
So in all this mess that's going on, and they're using this filibuster thing that was done under Obama, right? And they were saying, the Republicans were saying, you don't want to do this. You want to make this the new standard. What happens when we're in power, right?
Right.
So now they're using this, and they're bringing forth through all these judges, and they're pushing another 15 through. I don't have any idea how many judges there are, right? In total, federal judges. I don't know if there's 1,000 or 2,000 or 300 of them. I don't know. But
well, that was one big thing with Barack Obama is he left a lot of judges in the different circuit courts empty. So you have a lot of these very corrupt judges that were on board with the whole child trafficking network, right? So it's like, that was Obama's.
Well, I guess it's hard to fill those roles, right? Because you have to have that corruption level available. So they have a very tight criteria to put forth a judge, right, to get them in power. If you're not corrupt enough, you can't get in.
That's why they're so mad at President Trump for stacking the courts with conservative judges. Like, well, scumbags, if you weren't trying to completely occupy the court system to do what they're doing in Kane County, right? Like Kane, pedophile county down there, right? Pedophile and Satanism, if you don't like your kids, come here, right? Kind of place. It's like that's the standard, like, of excellence in the cabal world, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where you just do whatever the hell you want.
Yep.
Give kids away to whoever you feel like it, disappear.
I was thinking there might be some other thing that was going on there that was about more of the with him not filling the judge positions. I was thinking he was trying to break the judicial system with the flood of cases that would be coming through, right? If there wasn't enough judges to process them, it basically grinds the whole thing to a halt. Just the justice, falls apart. Not being able to process cases, the court system. You're 5 years out on being able to try a case. Just break it, by not having judges. I thought that had something to do with it. But hey, I just want to bring up that I don't think we covered Kim in the beginning.
Yes. So I don't have a report from Kim. However, I will put a couple pieces together that are my theories only. But they're I'm pretty sound on this stuff. So one, you'll notice today, in the day before, the House is about to have their final votes to move forward with impeachment. The day before, the House also passed the budget, right? Now, this is the first time, and I want to say like 2 years that they've passed the budget, right? Remember last year they shut the government down, right? And that was a holdover. All they did was they basically got an extension. They got an extension. They got an extension. But now the reason why all that's going on is because Kim has been the one funding the government, right? So you basically, it's the big argument is constantly Kim will not bow down to what they want. So they've been constantly negotiating and trying to finagle things, nonstop. Now you'll actually remember, I think it was this past summer, when all of a sudden out of nowhere, you never even hear this mentioned anywhere in politics, all of a sudden the Democrats said that they really wanted to do humanitarian projects, right?
Right.
In the United States. And they said, in one version of the budget, there was a listing for the humanitarian projects. Well, that would be us, right? I mean, not just us, but like us, and, I guess THI, right? Create Change and THI are like, and I know that we like this was a big thing with Kim to get an endorsement directly for Create Change over a year ago, right? Directly from the president, right? And so we got that confirmed, right? So I haven't seen that letter because I'm the kind of person, if you give me something, I'm gonna put it to use, right? So Kim has kept that because I guess she didn't want it out. But in this, I know that that's out there, right? Now, part of that was getting approval because what we have is community revitalization, right? Now, community revitalization you can use all over the country. In every single town, every county, right, has some area of it that could use some kind of revitalization, right? To go in and do all types of things that it's really all encompassing, right? Because you could define community revitalization in any one of 1,000 different ways, right? So anyways, so I know that exists, right? And I know that the Democrats, what they were doing, it was the deep state, they were trying to get their hands on half of that money because that's what they do. They think that they deserve half of everything that's for us, right? And it's like, look, you guys have already been living high off the hog with everything else. So, and if you remember, at one point, the banks were going to get half, right? But they didn't cooperate. So then that got reduced down to like, I don't know, a
20,
quarter or something like that.
I think it's 20, 20, was it 80-20?
Yeah, 80-20, right. So it's like, so they've been slow. Now, in my mind, it was always kind of like, you guys get nothing, right? So I always thought was going to happen. Because, you have not acted on it with any kind of integrity whatsoever. And you continue to look down on people with the same boring BS ideas that you've always had, that you're superior for no reason, because you've done nothing that was superior, right? But anyways, so all these things I've watched happen. So, I've watched that this was a big issue. So I've long suspected that the budget passing officially could or should have something to do with us being actually approved, right? And actually recognized on some level. Hello?
Oh, yeah, I lost you for a moment. Hello?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. Yes.
I don't hear you either.
You don't hear me.
Oh,
Hello?
there you go. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So anyways, so today, the House passes the budget in record time. I mean, it's unheard. They have not done anything,
Right.
but the budget goes through, right? Then Mitch McConnell basically says, yeah, like they're going to pass it in record time too, because all the, he looked at it and said, look, all of the stuff that President Trump wanted in there, all the programs he wanted in there, right? President Trump he's been making very Republic type, declarations and announcements and speaking the right language, in my opinion, to show that he is for the Republic, right?
Right.
For the constitutional law. And basically said, and there's some things in there that, I guess helped the Democrats as well. They were happy with it. So everybody was happy. So I think that's going to pass through, and then Trump will sign off on it. And it would seem to me like that's, in alignment and in agreement with, the impeachment somehow. The impeachment sham charade thing, So I think that's pretty exciting. I think that has the potential to indicate and imply that we will actually get funded here in the very near future. And Kim is like, you're not going to outdeal Kim, and Kim is not going to compromise with people that have nothing to offer.
Right.
Like they don't offer me. So the only thing the negotiating chip really has been about, like, you're going to accept that the people are going to get paid and they're going to get money, or you're never going to get paid. And then she's proceeded to take over every single piece of power structure that they had in place. Every bank, the ANA system, all the intelligence agencies, she's taken over everything they had to leverage everything, right? And you would have to think at some point you're just begging for mercy, right? Like, no matter how arrogant you are, like, don't you realize that every time you go to do something, like think about the past 6 months with all the stuff going on with Democrats, with the deep state Democrats, right? Not to imply all Democrats are bad, but with the deep state, everything they've done has literally, it's just not literally, but it's blown up in their face with whatever they're accusing of. There's all this evidence to show they're actually guilty of it.
Right.
And it all comes out because Kim has access to everything. So they can't keep any secrets. Anything that they have, she could just give Trump the right information to lead him down that path every single time.
Right.
So.
Well, they're so desperate at this point, right? Because I don't think that there will be a Democratic Party at the end of this. Will there even be someone running for election with the moniker of Democrat at that point? It's hard to say. There's so much that is going down right now, but people are still waking up. So I don't know if everyone's woke enough to steal the term back, right? Because they said we're going to steal because they're doing the Great Awakening. We're going to just say we're woke. We're the woke. Like, see, they try and steal everything, right?
Yeah.
Everything that's not nailed down and everything that is nailed down.
Yeah. It's all this is I'm actually really, really enjoying watching the Democrats go back in their district. Returning home to like being booed and yelled at and just being attacked because they've done nothing.
Right.
And they're just they go back to the town hall meetings and they're all being attacked. Rightfully so, by the way. That is what should happen. Like, they should be removed from their positions because they're liars and thieves and scoundrels. They're not looking at very obvious evidence. They're trying to portray it to us like it's all just ridiculous.
Well,
It's like, what are
I'm
they
showing.
talking about?
Yeah, I just brought up something that this is about this guy Barry Burke. He was in the judicial hearing for the impeachment. Now he's directing Nadler, right? He's telling Nadler, "Hey, you better go ahead and gavel him," right? Now, he is an attorney that paid to be in that spot. So he's so I didn't quite catch because some of the Republicans were saying they were asked some of the witnesses and the people that were the staffers that were being there to ask questions, or their staffers showing up as witnesses and then switching roles and going over and asking the questions. So the Republicans are scratching their head and some of them made them comment. Well, how much did you pay to be here? And I didn't quite get the comment, so I picked up that these people are actually paying by saying they're donating. I don't know if it's going to the Democratic Party or to Nadler or to whoever they're donating to, right? And then they're becoming staffers, and then they're putting them in place. So it's almost like in a football game, you're a fan and you say, you know what, I want to be on the offense. Let me be the right guard, right? I want to be the quarterback. Yeah, I'm gonna pay to get in that position, and they put him in, right? So that's why he's there, right? And now I have him showing that he's in control. Now someone else said that he was, controlling Nadler, like who is behind the curtain, kind of thing. That's what they were getting. I don't know if that's the case, but
oh my gosh, it's definitely the case. What do you mean? This is like so classic, right? It's like when Maxine Waters came out and said, Trump is going to get us killed. It's like, yeah, because you're part of the cabal. Right. You sold your soul to the devil. You're being threatened by your owner, right? Like your handler in the whatever it is, right? Right. And so now the handlers, like the higher ups in the cabal, right? The higher ups of the draconian government, right? Like they're now implanting experts, right, to be there next to the failing deep state. So they're sitting there next to Nadler telling them what to do, right?
Right.
And so now they've got their own handlers, and they're not even hiding.
They're not hiding anymore.
These guys, they're just used to being behind the scene. Now they're behind the scenes, but it's like we could see you now. Well, right? Before we couldn't see them.
I've got another one. I'm gonna show it. I know you're not gonna be able to see it, but this is actually I caught from another video, and I actually recorded this. Now, I just want you to watch his eyes, because I zoomed on his face. Now, we brought up before that the ones that blink a lot, they're being the idea was if they're blinking on us because they're a hybrid reptilian. I have no idea, but this guy blinks way too much. So I'm just showing. I'm playing it in the background, This is not really it's full on camera right now, but he's blinking like every 2 seconds.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So I'll keep that rolling a bit. But yeah, these guys, if they're paying to get into that position, right? It's kind of like the Democrats are selling the impeachment. To get donations, right? And so this guy is a criminal defense attorney, and so what is so he's paying to get into that position, but he's not elected, right? He hasn't. No one selected him to be there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. This whole thing is just farce.
Yeah. Anyway, so I'm gonna end that now. So back over to Zoom. Oh, we've got a couple more things that I can go through here. Let me pull this up.
I got Trump's letter ready to read, man.
Yeah, me too. I got it ready to go on screen.
All right, Dan, you are banned from reading. I will read. That's what I was told.
Well,
so, you let me know when you're ready. You're ready. This letter is fire too, by the way. Fire. I love it.
Oh, well, guess what? I think somehow it got wiped out. I think I closed the wrong window. That's what happened. I gotta pull it up again.
Yeah, no worries.
All right.
But you mentioned something else too, Dan, before this show started. That was really good.
What was it? We talked about a few things.
I know. Well, it's such an exciting. It's actually a really fun day of stuff. I mean, really,
Yeah.
like things. I mean, exciting to watch what's going on. It's I mean, you're really watching. Oh, Virginia military, the militia, right? So you have the militia down in Virginia, right? They're basically they're standing up in all the counties with all the sheriffs, right, with their militia, basically taking a stand, saying you're not going to take our guns. Meanwhile, the governor, who's made horrible, evil, corrupt decisions, pertaining to abortion laws, and I'm sure he's forcing vaccines as well, right? But the militia stood up, and so the militia stood up to basically say, no, you're not taking our guns. Yeah. I guess he's doing some United Nations thing. So, but from what I heard, I think he's actually calling in the National Guard. So he's declaring war on the people.
Oh, that's interesting. Interesting way of looking at it. All right, I've got Trump's letter already lined up here too.
Okay, I will.
So this is basically from Donald Trump to Nancy Pelosi about the impeachment, and he's basically going to rail against her for 6 pages.
This is okay. All right, I'll read. Interrupt me whenever, and we'll talk about it. Okay, so, Dear Madam Speaker, I write to express my strongest and most powerful protest against the partisan impeachment crusade being pursued by the Democrats in the House of Representatives. This impeachment represents an unprecedented and unconstitutional abuse of power by Democratic lawmakers unequaled in nearly 2.5 centuries of American legislative history. The articles of impeachment introduced by the House Judiciary Committee are not recognizable under any standard of constitutional theory, interpretation, or jurisprudence. They include no crimes, no misdemeanors, and no offenses whatsoever. You have cheapened the importance of the very ugly word impeachment. Now, before we go any further, this already is such a strong opening. He's talking about the standard of constitutional theory, interpretation, and jurisprudence. Now, because jurisprudence really defines constitutional violations, right? So I love that he referenced that.
Right.
Really strong. Okay, so by proceeding with your invalid impeachment, you are violating your oaths of office, which is exactly what they're trying to accuse him of.
Right.
But they have no grounds. Right? You are breaking your allegiances to the Constitution, and now that to me is a huge indictment that he just said there.
Right. He's impeaching Nancy Pelosi is what he's doing.
Right? Yeah, that's a great way to say it. Yeah. I mean, you are basically you are breaking your oath of office and your allegiance to the Constitution. Okay, and you are declaring open war. He's accusing her of treason.
Right.
You are declaring open war on American democracy. You dare to invoke the Founding Fathers in pursuit of this election nullification scheme, yet your spiteful actions display unfettered contempt for America's founding, and your egregious conduct threatens to destroy that which our founders pledged their very lives to build. Even worse than offending the Founding Fathers, you are offending Americans of faith by continually saying, quote, I prayed for the president, when you know this statement is not true unless it is meant in a negative sense. It is a terrible thing you are doing, but you will have to live with it, not I.
Yeah.
This letter is fire. I mean, he is accusing her of treason outright. Yep. Your first claim, quote, abuse of power, is a completely disingenuous, meritless, and baseless invention of your own imagination. No, I mean, that is like, You know that I had a totally innocent conversation with the president of Ukraine. I then had a second conversation that has been misquoted, mischaracterized, and fraudulently misrepresented. Fortunately, there was a transcript of the conversation taken, and you know from the transcript, which was immediately made available, that the paragraph in question, uh, sorry,
Right.
that the paragraph in question
Was perfect.
Place of the wait.
Look for the brackets in the middle of the sentence.
Thank you. All right. Conversation taken, and you know from the transcript, which was immediately made available, that the paragraph in question was perfect. I said to President Zelensky, quote, I would like you to do us a favor. I'd like you to do us a favor, though, because our country has been through a lot, and Ukraine knows a lot about it. I said, do us a favor, not me, and our country, not a campaign. I then mentioned the Attorney General of the United States. Every time I talk with a foreign leader, I put America's interests first, just as I did with President Zelensky. I'll tell you what, and no way Nancy Pelosi can claim that, right?
You know, it's like this is all truth, right? Nothing. It's pure truth, and it's saying exactly what's going on. It's amazing.
It's really powerful. So, you are turning a policy disagreement between two branches of government into an impeachable offense. It is no more legitimate than the executive branch charging members of Congress for crimes of the lawful or for the lawful exercise of legislative power. Wow. Yeah. You know full well that Vice President Biden and his office and $1 billion of U.S. aid money to coerce Ukraine into firing the prosecutor who was digging into company paying his son millions of dollars. You know this because Biden bragged about it on video. I added the emphasis there. Biden openly stated, I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion. I looked at them and said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor is not fired, you're not getting the money. Well, son of a bitch, he got fired. Even Joe Biden admitted just days ago in an interview with NPR that it looked bad. Now, you are trying to impeach me by falsely accusing me of doing what Joe Biden has admitted he actually did. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love Trump for pointing out what is so freaking obvious.
It's so obvious. Yeah, it's so blatantly, this is what happened. And is again, their own tactic always. Accuse the other side of what they're doing. That's all they always do. That's their only play in their playbook.
It's the only thing, they just try to associate the same word with somebody else. Okay. Yeah. So, President Zelensky has repeatedly declared that I did nothing wrong and that there was no pressure. He further emphasized that it was a good phone call, that I don't feel pressure, and explicitly stressed that nobody pushed me. The Ukraine foreign minister stated very clearly, I have never seen a direct link between investigations and security assistance. He also said there was no pressure. Senator Ron Johnson of Wisconsin, a supporter of Ukraine, who said there was no pressure. Who met privately.
He also said that there was no pressure, Senator Ron Johnson.
Right. Yeah. He said at no time during this meeting was there any mention of Zelensky or any Ukrainian that they were feeling pressure to do anything in return for the military aid. Many meetings have been held between representatives of Ukraine and our country. Never once did Ukraine complain about pressure being applied. Not once. Ambassador Sondland testified that I told him, no quid pro quo, I want nothing. I want nothing. I want President Zelensky to do the right thing, do what he ran on. The second claim, so-called, quote, obstruction of justice, is preposterous and dangerous. House Democrats are trying to impeach the duly elected President of the United States for asserting constitutionally-based privileges that have been asserted on bipartisan basis by administration of both political parties throughout our nation's history. Under that standard, every American president would have been impeached many times over. As liberal law professor Jonathan Truly warned when addressing congressional Democrats, quote, I can't emphasize this enough. If you impeach a president, if you make a high crime and misdemeanor out of going to the courts, it is an abuse of power. It's your abuse of power. You're doing precisely what you're criticizing the president of doing. Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Exactly. That is their play. All right. And so he's calling them out on it.
Right. Everyone you included knows what is really happening. Your chosen candidate lost the election in 2016 in an electoral college landslide 306 to 227. And you and your party have never recovered from this defeat. You've developed a full-fledged case of what many in the media call Trump derangement syndrome. And sadly, you will never get over it. You are unwilling and unable to accept the verdict issued to the ballot box during the great election of 2016. So you have spent 3 straight years attempting to overturn the will of the American people and nullify their votes. You view democracy as your enemy. Yeah. Speaker Pelosi, you admitted just last week at a public forum that your party's impeachment effort has been going on for 2.5 years, long before you ever heard about a phone call with Ukraine. 19 minutes after I took the oath of office, the Washington Post published a story headline, "The campaign to impeach President Trump has begun." Less than 3 months after my inauguration, Representative Maxine Waters stated, "I am going to fight every day until he's impeached." House Democrats introduced the first impeachment resolution against me within months of my inauguration for what will be regarded as one of our country's best decisions, the firing of James Comey, see the Inspector General report, who the world now knows is one of the dirtiest cops our nation has ever seen. A ranting and raving Congresswoman, Rashida Tlaib, declared just hours after she was sworn into office, "We're going to go in there and we're going to impeach the mother blanker." Representative Al Green said in May, "I'm concerned that if we don't impeach this president, he will get reelected." Again, you and your allies said and did all of these things long before you ever heard of President Zelensky or anything related to Ukraine. As you know very well, this impeachment drive has nothing to do with Ukraine or the totally appropriate conversation I had with this new president. It only has to do with your attempt to undo the election of 2016 and steal the election of 2020.
Again, what they're claiming he's doing, right? They're claiming he's trying to steal the 2020 election. That's what all this that they're talking about on the talking heads are all saying. He's trying to steal the election of 2020, but it's exactly what they're trying to do.
You can't steal something you already have done. He already kicked your ass. He took your 30-year plan to put this woman in office and dissected it. Like, stop. All right, so he goes on to say, Congressman Adam Schiff cheated and lied all the way up to the present day, even going so far as to fraudulently make up out of thin air my conversation with President Zelensky of Ukraine and read his fantasy language to Congress as though it were said by me. His shameless lies and deceptions, dating all the way back to the Russia hoax, is one of the main reasons we are here today. You and your party are desperate to distract from America's extraordinary economy, incredible jobs boom, record stock market, soaring confidence, and flourishing citizens. Your party simply cannot compete with our record. 7 million new jobs, the lowest unemployment for African Americans, Hispanic Americans, and Asian Americans, a rebuilt military, a complete reformed VA with choice and accountability for our great veterans, more than 170 new federal judges and 2 Supreme Court justices, historic tax and regulation cuts, the elimination of the individual mandate, the first decline in prescription drug prices in half a century, the first new branch of the United States military since 1947, the Space Force, strong protection of the Second Amendment, criminal justice reform, a defeated ISIS caliphate, and the killing of the world's #1 terrorist leader, al-Baghdadi. The replacement of the disastrous NAFTA trade deal in the wonderful USMCA, Mexico, and Canada, a breakthrough Phase 1 trade deal with China, massive new trade deals with Japan and South Korea, withdrawal from the terrible Iran nuclear deal, cancellation of the unfair and costly Paris Climate Accord, becoming the world's top energy producer, recognition of Israel's capital, opening the American embassy in Jerusalem, and recognizing Israeli sovereignty over the Golan Heights, a colossal reduction in illegal border crossing, the ending of the catch and release, and the building of the southern border wall. And that is just the beginning. There is so much more. You cannot defend your extreme.
And that's all with just one hand tied behind his back.
That's amazing. When you think about it. That's incredible.
You know, all of that, and this impeachment and everything, and they've been fighting him every step of the way. Every step of the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt.
You cannot defend your extreme policies, open borders, mass migration, high crime, crippling taxes, socialized health care, destruction of American energy, late-term taxpayer-funded abortion, elimination of the Second Amendment, radical far-left theories of law and justice, and the constant partisan obstruction of both common sense and common good.
Yeah.
Biatch! I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That is awesome. I love what he said. Yeah, okay, sorry.
Yeah, I didn't see that last word there, but it's okay.
Yeah, it might not have been there. Anyway, so there is nothing I would rather do than stop referring to your party as the do-nothing Democrats. Unfortunately, I don't know that you will ever give me a chance to do so. After 3 years of unfair or unwarranted investigation, $45 million spent, 18 angry Democrat prosecutors, the entire force of the FBI, headed by leadership now proven to be totally incompetent and corrupt, you have found nothing. Few people in high positions could have endured a pass this test. You do not know, nor do you care, the great damage and hurt you have inflicted upon wonderful and loving members of my family. You conducted a fake investigation upon the democratically elected president of the United States, and you are doing it yet again. There are not many people who could have taken the punishment inflicted during this period of time, and yet done so much for the success of America and its citizens. But instead of putting our country first, you have decided to disgrace our country still further. You completely failed in the Mueller report because there was nothing to find. So you decided to take the next hoax that came along, the phone call with Ukraine, even though it was a perfect call. And by the way, when I speak to foreign countries, there are many people with permission listening to the call on both sides of the conversation. You are the ones interfering in America's elections. You are the ones subverting America's democracy. You are the ones obstructing justice. You are the ones bringing pain and suffering to our republic for your own selfish, personal, political, and partisan gain. Before the impeachment hoax, it was the Russian witch hunt. Against all evidence and regardless of the truth, you and your deputies claimed that my campaign colluded with the Russians. A grave, malicious, and slanderous lie, a falsehood like no other. You forced our nation through turmoil and torment over a wholly fabricated story illegally purchased from a foreign spy by Hillary Clinton and the DNC in order to assault our democracy. Yet when the monstrous lie was debunked and the Democrat conspiracy dissolved into dust, you did not apologize. You did not recant. You did not ask to be forgiven. You showed no remorse, no capacity for self-reflection. Instead, you pursued your next libelous and vicious crusade. You engineered an attempt to frame and defame an innocent person. All this was motivated by personal political calculation. Your speakership and your party are held hostage by your most deranged and radical representatives of the far left. Each one of your members lives in fear of a socialist primary challenger. This is what is driving impeachment. Look at Congressman Nadler's challenger. Look at yourself and others. Do not take our country down your party. Down with your party, sorry. If you truly cared about freedom and liberty of a foreign nation, then you would be devoting your vast investigative resources to exposing the full truth concerning the FBI's horrifying abuses of power before, during, and after the 2016 election, including the use of spies against my campaign, the submission of false evidence to the FISA court, and the concealment of exculpatory evidence in order to frame the innocent. The FBI has great and honorable people, but the leadership was inept and corrupt. That was a very intelligent statement put in there.
Yep.
I would think that you would personally be appalled by these revelations, because in your press conference, the day you announced impeachment, you tied the impeachment effort directly to the completely discredited Russia hoax, declaring twice that all roads lead to Putin. When you know that is an abject lie. I have been far tougher on Russia than President Obama ever even thought to be. Any member of Congress who votes in support of impeachment against every shred of truth, fact, evidence, and legal principle is showing how deeply they revile the voters, how truly they detest America's constitutional order. Our founders feared the tribalization of partisan politics, and you are bringing their worst fears to life. Worse still, I have been deprived of basic constitutional due process from the beginning of this impeachment scam right up until the present. Now, due process is one of your fundamental rights.
Right.
So that's a pretty big deal.
Yep.
I have been denied the most fundamental rights afforded by, and he says this right after, afforded by the Constitution, including the right to present evidence, to have my own counsel present, to confront accusers, and to call and cross-examine witnesses, like the so-called whistleblower who started this entire hoax with a false report of a phone call that bears no relationship to the actual phone call that was made. Once I presented the transcribed call, which surprised and shocked the fraudsters, never thought that such evidence would be presented, the so-called whistleblower and the second whistleblower disappeared because they got caught. Their report was a fraud, and they were no longer going to be made available to us. In other words, once the phone call was made public, your whole plot blew up. That didn't stop you from continuing. More due process was afforded to those accused in the Salem witch trials. All right. You and others, that was a great line. You and others on your committee have long said impeachment must be bipartisan. It is not. You said it was very divisive. It certainly is, even far more than you ever thought possible. And it will only get worse. This is nothing more than an illegal partisan attempted coup that will, based on recent sentiment, badly fail at the voting booth. You are not just after me as president, you are after the entire Republican Party. But because of this colossal injustice, our party is more united than it ever has been before. History will judge you harshly as you proceed with this impeachment charade. Your legacy will be that of turning the House of Representatives from a revered legislative body into a star chamber of partisan persecution. Perhaps most insulting of all is your false display of solemnity. Okay. You apparently have so little respect for the American people that you expect them to believe that you are approaching this impeachment somberly, reservedly, and reluctantly. No intelligent person believes what you are saying. Since the moment I won the election, the Democratic Party has been possessed by impeachment fever. There is no reticence. This is not a somber affair. You are making a mockery of impeachment, and you are scarcely concealing your hatred of me, of the Republican Party, and tens of millions of patriotic Americans. The voters are wise, and they are seeing straight through this empty, hollow, and dangerous game you're playing. I have no doubt the American people will hold you and the Democrats fully responsible in the upcoming 2020 election. They will not soon forgive your perversion of justice and abuse of power. There is far too much that needs to be done to improve the lives of our citizens. It is time for you and the highly partisan Democrats in Congress to immediately cease this impeachment fantasy and get back to work for the American people. While I have no expectation that you will do so, I write this letter to you for the purpose of history and to put my thoughts on a permanent and indelible record. Good for you,
Yeah.
President Trump.
Yeah.
100 years from now, when people look back at this affair, I want them to understand it and learn from it, so it can never happen to another president again. Sincerely yours, President Donald J. Trump. Woo! Man, that letter was one of the best things I've read in my life. Oh my gosh!
Oh,
I
yeah.
feel like that song from the Fugees where it says "Killing Me Softly Within," like he was singing my whole life story right there. That thing should be turned into music. I love that.
Yeah, I'm sure it will be. You know, it's so classic Trump, right? But it's so well organized,
so eloquent, so
yeah.
well. I mean, you know it gets edited properly. You know that really is him. I mean, that's his personality. That's his energy. That's what he would say and what he believed. Every word of it.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm so you know, I'm so overwhelmed actually that he did this at this stage, and literally, how many of the Democrats will be persuaded by this letter, right? That are going to go for impeachment. They could fail the impeachment, right? Because they have to vote on it, right? If it fails again, this is the fourth time that they brought up an impeachment for voting, right? To proceed forward, and now this last time they couldn't get their caucus to go along with it, so they did something that was the impeachment inquiry, which is not a thing, right? And then they did it in the basement, and out of sight, and not showing everyone. The Republicans said, "What are you doing? This isn't how we do an impeachment. Here's the rules. Here's the procedures over here. What are you doing?" And they made this all up and then forced it in, all from lawfare. This warfare type law company that designed this tactic on how to, because they needed to have the impeachment. They just needed to do it. So they hired this lawfare to make the strategy on how to move forward with it. Yeah, but now, you know, they're called out. You know, he called them out on everything that they're doing right now.
you know, that was such a great. I mean, he just encapsulated so much truth.
Yep.
You know, because they're constantly like attacking him in the media, trying to say, "Oh, you know, he's because he's a salesman, right?" I mean, he's Donald Trump, right? Like, so he's always said, "Oh, it was the best government of all time, the best president of all time." He's always saying things like that.
Right.
So they try to cite those things as lies. But you know what? Not really. I mean, he's a he's a Barnum and Bailey, you know, and like he's just directing the circus.
Right.
You know, like it's not. He has to say something because they're telling real lies. You know, Schiff like lives with a permanent face that looks like everything is. He's appalled by it. Every expression he makes is, "Oh my God, I cannot believe this." Like you can just picture him all the time, just in a state of shock and awe.
Yeah, his eyes always bugging out. His eyes, you know, a little
right,
further.
It's like they bring turkey out for Thanksgiving dinner, and Schiff is like, "Turkey?" Like it's like, wow, man. So
well,
I just
you know this letter will go down in history. You know, and this it's going to be one of those things where it's going to now carry. That's why I think that it actually may shift some of the votes, and some of the Democrats might just say, "It's laid out. I mean, this is history." And am I going to be on the wrong side?
Say getting the budget passed. Hello?
Yes, you say getting the budget passed.
Oh, sorry, I got cut off. Yeah, so I'd say getting the budget passed, and I think I don't know if it went through the Senate. I know it went to the House, but I would imagine it'll go through the Senate too. To have both of those go through, you know, on like the day before or the day of the vote for the impeachment. Then to drop this letter. This letter to me is like when Moses drew the line in the sand in the wilderness of Sinai. And he said, "All those who are for Yahweh, you're on this side. All those who are opposed, you stay on that side. And all those who stayed on the other side of the line in the sand, they were swallowed up by the earth." That's what I feel like this is.
That's it. Because if any of the Democrats that vote for the impeachment now are going to be on the wrong side. They'll be swallowed up by the sands of history.
What he said in there too, and he's right. Anyone who votes for impeachment based on the facts, it is so ridiculous what they're trying to say. When you have your vice president that you're giving a pass to do anything not to have that attention put on it,
right?
You're obviously corrupt. And on top of that, Trump's personal attorney has all the evidence to show that you're guilty.
Yeah.
Right? Giuliani, look, he's holding back.
Oh yeah.
I mean, look how public he is.
Yeah, Giuliani.
What he's showing is shocking.
Yeah, he's
holding back.
He now found out. He found what Glenn Beck was saying when they did their analysis, and they found 7.2 billion is missing, not 1 billion. Hey, you're not going to get the billion. No, that was like part of 7.2 billion that is gone. Where is it? Well, yeah. I think Biden is still out there as the front runner. Like, how can he really be the front runner? Really? I mean, all the rest of them, no matter how crazy they are, how can anyone be putting Biden up right now as the front runner for real? But they're keeping him there because he is the firewall. If he's gone, it doesn't stop at the 1 billion. Where's the 1 billion? It's where's the 7 billion? And that goes back into all of the other politicians' pockets, U.S. politicians' pocket. That's what Giuliani found. He found the wire transfers from going through these countries, and they all end up in politicians' bank accounts, and probably also in the Senate, not just in the House. And so the Senate's going to want to shut down this impeachment stuff right away. They're not going to want to have a trial. That's why Dave Hodges was. I said he was talking. He said you better call on all those senators or all the congressmen. Make sure that they don't vote for impeachment.
Right.
I mean, put the pressure on. Impeachment's not good. So whichever way it comes down right now, I think Giuliani's bringing out the goods. And I think this firewall of Biden will also disappear then. Watch, if Giuliani's bringing out the 7.2 billion and the rest of the politicians lining up, Biden fades away pretty quick. He won't be the front runner anymore.
No. Yeah. No, I don't think so. So, honestly, if Biden is running, Biden was talking to the long teleprompter, the long camera the other day. The things he's saying on campaign is just absurd, and he's still got that same arrogant elitist mentality and attitude. It's like Americans don't like that, like people who work hard for their money don't appreciate entitled rich guys talking about what they're gonna do.
Right.
Like,
well, it's pretty funny. All the Democratic Party is against white privilege, against old white men, right? But their front runner is an old white man with privilege.
Well, yeah, a lot of yeah.
It's like accuse the others, right? Of what you're doing. They can't even get away on their candidate.
It's actually amazing to me that the cast of characters for the Democratic Party is pathetic. I mean, it's like the league of inept supervillains. I mean, they don't have a single individual that's even remotely really. I mean, like nobody's well spoken. Nobody's really powerfully. No one has a real presence that you respect. In fact, everyone who's diving down that pit of despair with them, they all look retarded. I mean, like the members of The View and Ellen and all of Hollywood throwing temper tantrums, like talking about one thing and then another. This little girl, like your rock star is this little girl who's clearly like a cloned, cabal minion, sitting on trains and throwing temper tantrums. Like, Who cares? What are you talking about? I mean, the whole thing is just a sham.
Yep. Yep. Well, just shows, this letter is showing so vividly what the situation actually is, and this is what is going to ring throughout history, right? This is why he said he has no expectations that they're going to actually do the right thing and stop this impeachment, but he's doing this for the sake of history, right? And it's going to ring. It's going to continue to ring out throughout this year, and it's going to, whatever comes out in the Senate, whatever they vote on, they still have to do the vote. It may just fail. This letter may do the trick. Because there's these people who just these freshmen that came in, they may want to have another term, right? And they might say, you know what, I gotta like change what I've been doing now. I can't keep doing this because I want to stay and represent my people, and we're gonna stop this charade.
I really think the damage to them is too deep. Alexandria Cortez still, she's obviously an actress, right? She's like doing, there's some video out there of her, and she's like, I have all these choices for healthcare. I just don't know what to do with myself, right?
Right.
It's like, oh my gosh, stop it. You look like a fool. Okay, you haven't heard about, Ilhan Omar is basically going to be tried for treason, which can't come fast enough.
Right.
It's like, why are we allowing it to continue if she's still there and she's leaked secrets from the government to Qatar? I mean, get her out of there right now. She should be taken out by the military immediately, right? And then the other one there, what's the woman's name? The crazy one who said impeach the other effort.
Oh yeah.
You haven't heard from her in a while, right? Because
she's
everything that they,
she's in the judicial panel, for the judicial, for the impeachment, and she's questioning people. It's amazing these how do they get into that position, right? They were chosen, before being elected to get into these positions. Even Omar, right? Such a planned event. Where her money came through Qatar, through Iran, right? Yeah, this was selling out America wholesale. So the people who have been there in power and all these power structures have been selling out America all this time. Now it's all changed. Look at that list of accomplishments that he's done.
Oh my gosh, it's amazing. I mean,
no president has done so much.
I've never heard of it, and it's so obvious the difference of when a president comes in who is conscious of what is in the government, what the obstacles are in front of him, and he goes after them to get things done.
Right.
Right? To actually get things done. Which, I gotta be honest, which is part of what's frustrated me this whole time, and the fact that we haven't been able to get basic funding in for disaster relief, for humanitarian projects, just to pay basic salaries for all the work, on the ground, because it has to come through the Treasury or something. I don't know exactly. Other than I know that Kim it was very important to Kim to make sure that we got endorsed, right? Right. So I do believe that this budget, if this is a real budget, it must be in there finally that says humanitarian funding will be made available, because you got to think the whole infrastructure of the country has to be rebuilt. If you are going to actually restore the republic, then you have to give money to the people to do it, because it won't be a socialist government anymore. Yeah. So the humanitarian aspect of it is an essential component of everything, because the way it's supposed to be is that we're responsible, right? With our rights comes our responsibility, right? Rights are not just ours, it's nice that we have them and we take it for granted. There's a responsibility, right?
Yeah.
If you're free, act like it, So,
yeah,
pretty excited about that. Feels good, feels strong.
Yes. You know, I think that there's so much that's is coming down the line. You know, this is going to be a very transformative year because this is, you know, I really see that we've got to the point where people have or have been looked at, like the mainstream media. They're never going to get away from the term fake news, right? No, they're always going to be considered that now. You know, so all of them across the board are have that, you know, and put on their forehead. I mean, it's just embossed now. So we are the news, and this next year we're going to see all of these type of new news channels really taking hold. All right, and we'll find our ways of getting our information out, whether it's all through our own websites or whatever it is, and we'll make that happen. You know, we'll be able to go ahead and bring these things forward, these news articles and what we're working on, what project we're doing, and it will transform. This is the transformative year. You know, we're leading right into this holiday spirit. You know, with this, you know, it's almost, you know, the impeachment. You know, I felt was part of the plan all along, right? As part of to get people awake. So I'm happy that the impeachment is now over. Well, almost. And I'll start with the trial, but the rest of it coming down the line, they're not going to be able to get away from it.
Yep, I agree. And
So
real quick, Dan, before we close out, I want to show you
ahead.
guys everybody this. So this is the introduction to an effort that we are putting forth to bring together all of the militias under one umbrella, not to take away their identity in any way, but to provide more in-depth information and give people some insight in the different militias as to what's going on behind the scenes that I know for a fact we have a unique perspective that they don't have.
Your logo up there, it kind of reminds me of Captain America.
Yeah, I have a hero complex. There's no question about it. You know, it's just the way it goes.
That's okay. Captain America hero complex is good to have. We need some Captain Americas, some major Americas, some general Americas.
Right. So we're trying. We are going to. We actually have already engaged quite a few active militias, and we want to bring them together to have similar communication, right? So that everybody can be on the same page and contact each other and have open lines of communication with the militias as a body, that the only military body that's really authorized by the Constitution to be organized to protect the people.
I'm sharing the screen right now of what happened in Virginia with the one Virginia county that basically organized militia ordering law, right? That they passed a militia ordering law. 75 of the other Virginia counties have declared themselves sanctuaries, right? So they need to defend themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that, and we are actually reaching out to them and to the actual governor to let him know, because we want to. What we want to do is be able to give them the support to say, look, the grand jury system has been voted on in every single county to be reinstated. Right.
Yep.
This was done by the National Liberty Alliance, and they have actually entered into the court of record the grand jury foreman out of Valhalla in New York, and we have a case that's being reviewed right now to vote very, very soon to call a grand jury that is pertaining to the vaccines and actually undoing some of these no laws. But we want to make that a regular practice, right? Because everyone's been waiting for these tribunals to, come forth and do all this stuff, and the military to go out. If you see the military hitting the streets, believe me, it will not be a pleasant time. It'd be much better for the people to start to call together grand juries through this process. And so the goal is to use Lawful America to be an active body to create those resentments in the proper fashion, because we have a relationship with the foreman of the grand jury, to actually bring that stuff up and say, here is the presentment. Does this satisfy what you need to call a grand jury? and start that process. And that's exciting. I mean, that's the real reinstatement of the republic, of constitutional law.
Right.
That's the way it's always supposed to be. Because this is, and it's interesting because 4 years ago, I had this in-depth conversation with David Hayden. David Hayden, he actually owned one of the like 4 original versions of the Declaration of Independence, right?
Wow.
I mean, he's such a, an advocate. And he memorized, he knew it verbatim to this day, even though he's had a stroke since, he could still recite it verbatim. And so he loved that. But he and I talked about this extensively. And I said, the biggest problem is we need a reverse governing system that actually governs the government. And now, 4 years later, it looks like, we finally put that in place.
Yeah. Oh, it has to come from the people. It is about a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. So it is up to us to be responsible. And we just can't push it off on whoever the television is going to push out on the screen, right? Because that's the controlled system that's put in place there to manipulate your thoughts on what is happening, right? They don't tell you the whole story. They tell you only what they want, and they repeat it on every channel, right? It's very obvious, right? Channel to channel to channel, saying exactly the same words, the talking points. So so we got to go past this. Put a whole new system in place. It is our responsibility, and this actually said to us in the Constitution that it is for us to go ahead and our right to go ahead and throw off a bad government.
That's right, and actually, this is part of the reason why it's essential. So anybody out there with the Republic, anybody out there with militia connections, it is essential that people understand that one of the things President Trump mentioned in that letter was jurisprudence. And jurisprudence basically identifies constitutional violations, right? I mean, at least in part. And in the jurisprudence, and it's, I reference this all the time, I got it from Michelle Walker, is 177, Section 2. It says that no state can create a law, and matter of fact, this applies to Congress as well, by the way, but they cannot create a law that violates Americans' constitutional rights or their fundamental rights. And it goes on to say that if this happens and they try to implement something that appears to be a law, it is a no law and cannot be enforced. And the ones who try to pass it off as a law, it is the militia's job to go in and remove that individual from office. Now, I mention that because we are in a situation where the only really recognized protector of the people is the organized, lawful militia. Now, they try to say that's the National Guard. Well, how could that be? How could it be the National Guard if Virginia is calling in the National Guard to go essentially to war against the militia made up of the people for the governor violating constitutional rights? If the National Guard does that, look, we'll serve them because they have absolutely no right. Their oath is to protect the Constitution. If that governor tries to impose those laws, he is in violation of the Constitution, and he is violating every one of those people's constitutional rights. In the National Guard, every single individual who participates in that would be in violation of that too. So I don't believe that'll happen, personally.
Sorry, I had to mute myself.
That's okay.
I've been surrounded by cats. My wife had brought me lunch and set it here, and that's attracted all these small kittens, and they're all deciding that this is the time. So maybe this is a good place to break.
Yes, sir. There you go.
And anyway, I encourage everyone to please join us here at wwg1wga.love website. Right, that's it right here. Right, where we go one, we go all. .love. And go ahead and sign up for a membership and help us take care of expenses. It would be really good about this time. I appreciate someone had joined yesterday. Thank you very much. So whatever you can do to help, this would be the best time. So, and then
the best time.
That would be the best time.
Every dollar that comes in goes right back out.
Yeah.
Supports cause. Yep.
So all right, and then we'll be back tomorrow, and we'll see what is happening on the front lines.
All right. Have a great night, Dan. Thanks a lot.
All right. Bye, everyone.